Here we go. Hello, friends. Welcome today. I'm glad you're here with me today or on the replay. I'm very excited because today I get to talk to Dr. Shannon Coates, the good doctor, is stopping by my broadcast, making time to chat with us today about learning. And I know and you know that I'm way into this, and I know you're into it because you're on my broadcast. Yay. We're glad she's here, and I cannot wait to get started talking with her today. So let me just get right to it. I'm going to start by introducing myself. I am, in case you're only here because you saw Shannon, and now you have to put up with this. I'm Meredith Colby. I didn't get enough sleep last night. I help voice teachers create confident teaching and singing of popular styles. I am the author of Money Notes, How to Sing High, Loud, Healthy, and Forever, which introduces neurovocal, a way to teach popular singing based on brain science. I also teach classes in neurovocal for voice professionals. And speaking of which, I have one more class this year. Wendy's here. Wendy Martelli says, I'm glad. I'm glad my student canceled. I'm so bad. And Colin Johnson is here, and he says, this stuff is the bomb. Isn't it, Colin? It is the bomb. We get so excited about it. And Rita's here. Also, Rita Castillo from California is very excited also. I'm glad I'm not the only one just fangirling out here today. But I have to say this because I have your attention for a minute. I teach this only twice a year, and the second and final time I'm teaching this class in this way is this summer, and this month it is early bird. No, it's pre-sale. It's not even early bird. It's the most money possible off. So you get $300 off the sticker price, and then if you're on my mailing list, you'll get a coupon for another $50 off. But that's not why you should go. You should go to the website to check out the information page, because teaching popular styles using brain science is fun and nerdy and super effective. So I would love to go on and on about that, but that's not why we're here, is it? No, it is not. So instead, I'm going to introduce the good doctor Shannon Coates. Shannon Coates develops resources, classes, and courses for voice teachers. She's a university, thank you, Wendy. She's a university instructor in Southern Ontario. Wendy gave me a little amen on because she is a neurovocal teacher. She took my class. Sorry. One more time. Shannon is a university instructor in Southern Ontario, but her heart is in teaching independent voice teachers. In 2020, Shannon Coates started the VoicePed revolution and works with Stay Put VoicePed scholars who want continuing education on their own time and in their own way. The next thing that's happening in the world of Dr. Coates is her signature teacher certification, the Vocal Instrument 101 Live, which is specifically for independent voice teachers, although, that said, lots of academic teachers, choral conductors, music directors, and classroom educators love it and have loved it too. So it's for all the smart people. So to develop and deepen their understanding of the anatomy and physiology of how the body works to sing, along with lots and lots of ideas about practical application for that information, to put that information into use in the voice studio. So if you want that link to her page to get more information, put Shannon in the chat, and you will get a link that will take you directly to that info page for the Vocal Instrument 101 Live. Or if you are watching this on YouTube, check below in the description. You will find the link right in there. Also, this is a secret. She did not tell me to tell you this, but I saw it on her website. If you get on her mail list, she'll give you another 10% discount. So when you get to her website, go to the top and it says stay in touch. Sign thee up for her email list, and then you'll get the discount. Okay. And sadly, she can hear me right now. So I hope she's not going to be annoyed with me. Probably not. So welcome, Shannon. I'm so glad you're here today. Wait. I suppose I should unmute you.
Unmuted. Hey. Hi, Meredith. Let me make one small correction
Oh,
to
yeah.
the intro. So yes, I do teach at university in Southern Ontario, but I only teach one course. I don't teach voice. I don't teach anything. I only teach one course.
Do
I teach
you?
voice therapy. That's all I do. Yeah. Just FYI. Yeah. I love that course, and so I keep teaching it.
Okay. If you didn't love it so much, you would just be all indie. You'd just be indie girl.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. But what I also love about teaching that course in particular is that um, I get to be like involved with brand new voice teachers every single year, right? So like I'm constantly like, oh yeah, that's what it feels like to be brand new to this information. That's what it feels like to be brand new to teaching, right? So I feel like teaching that course helps me to stay kind of in the mindset, if you will. It
Mm-hmm.
helps to ward off a little bit of what's it called? What's it called? The curse of the expert,
The
curse of
curse of the
knowledge.
expert, right? When you know too much and you just assume everybody else knows it too.
Yeah, well, and you
Yeah.
lose the ability to teach it effectively
Right.
because you don't remember what it's like to hear that information for the first time, right? So yeah, yeah. So I feel like it keeps me like fresh to
Yeah.
teach it. But I also love teaching it, so yeah, lots of
Yeah. Oh, Colin
curse
Johnson.
of knowledge. Yes,
Curse of
that's right.
knowledge. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Colin. So let's let us tell the people who are here with us today or on the replay why we are talking today. We're going to talk about that kind of really is about how learning happens
Mhm.
and why you and I were talking about that. Do you want to tell the story?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, you and I both do courses and classes and all that good stuff. And we work with voice teachers. And so we have this kind of like ongoing conversation about how these courses work and how these classes work and all that stuff, which is amazing. And something that came up last week was just the whole idea around sometimes folks don't apply this stuff the way that I would hope that they would, right? Like they take the information home, but then it doesn't always like get applied as well as I would like it to for all of these reasons. And so we were talking about how it's so easy for us. I mean, this is a little bit of curse of knowledge too, right? Like it's so easy to get into the mindset of like, as someone who's learning, it's so easy to get into the mindset that this should be really easy and fast because I see Shannon, I see Meredith doing this really quickly and really fast. And so I see these like miraculous changes happening like right on the spot. And my teaching is like, boom, like it happens and changes. And all of these things are fantastic. And I can see how it changes the singing and then I get back to my studio and I think I should be able to do the same thing at the same fastness, with that same miraculous off the, ease. And it's just, hi, Claudia.
Yeah, hi,
But it
Claudia.
just doesn't work that way, right? And we forget, I think sometimes as educators, we forget sometimes to frame learning well for the folks we're working with, right? We forget to frame learning in the and to make it really clear that learning is messy,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it takes it not working sometimes for quite a while before it actually starts to like work,
Right.
especially if we're taking out old habits and putting in new ones, right? Like
Yeah,
that takes a
girl.
long time, right?
Totally.
So yeah, so that's kind of how that came up where we
Well, okay, wait. I have to say, I'm going to be honest. Here's how it really came up. This
what.
how it really came up was Meredith whining about this. I was like, I wasn't. I was a bit perplexed. We'll say that.
You were worried.
I was a little worried. I was worried because I'm like, I've codified this way of teaching and I'm trying to be super clear, and it concerns me that maybe people aren't leaving my class with the confidence to apply what they've learned. And Shannon said, well, just, making it clear in the moment doesn't give them necessarily the opportunity to go and mess it up. And the way what I teach came about was through a whole lot of messing up. and so
like decades of learning yourself, right? Like
right.
This isn't like you this isn't like you were like, first time you heard it, you were like, yeah, that's amazing. Let's just put that into place right now. Done. I mean, that's
right.
just not how it, but it can look like that
because we've practiced. Do you think this is what that thing that Lynn Helding refers to in her book when she talks about the masterclass syndrome?
Yeah, I absolutely do.
Will you riff on that a little bit?
Yeah. So she talks about masterclass syndrome. Well, let's talk about like the learning process first, maybe.
Okay.
So
yeah, great.
Just like learning process, we've got a bunch of sort of steps before whatever we've learned is actually learned. And the definition of something being learned is, first of all, there's actually like tissue change, right? There's actually anatomical change in the brain once we've learned something. So like that's actually a thing. But the definition of something being learned is that it's repeatable under various conditions, essentially. But those are the essential things, right? We can repeat the thing, and we can repeat the thing under various conditions. Things have changed, So that's the definition. But in order for that, whatever it is we're trying to do, or whatever it is we're trying to, like in a motor skill, like teaching or like singing, whatever it is we're trying to do, we have to go through this whole stage. And it goes through like these kinds of stages of memory, right? It goes through, top one, can't remember now. What's the top one? Actually, I think I made a note. Oh, short term, right. Goes short term, then working memory, then it consolidates, and then we're into or construction and then consolidation. I can't remember. But short term is basically like, ooh, I've got this information, and if I don't do something with that information almost immediately, it goes away again.
Correct.
You haven't learned it,
especially if it's motor learning.
Yes, especially if it's motor learning, right?
Yes.
And that's what happens in performance class or in master classes. Essentially, we have a performance shift because it went into my short-term memory. I changed the thing. The master class technician looks like a genius. And then I go, unless I've got a really great teacher or I understand how learning works, and I go directly from the stage to the practice room and I start to like implement it, I'm likely going to lose that change. So that we take that from short-term memory and then we put it into working memory. And working memory, I think Lynn Helding compares working memory to having a whole bunch of sticky notes of information.
Yeah.
And then you throw them all up on the wall. And then as they come through working memory and they start to get consolidated, you mix them with all of your other sticky notes that you have farther down that are maybe a little bit more solid, and you kind of build that from the memories and the information that you already have consolidated. So you kind of consolidate it into what you already know. And then in muscle work or motor learning, motor work,
yeah.
I could talk honest like can, then we practice it. We do it a whole bunch of times. And if we don't already have like a kind of pathway there that that we need to kind of disassemble and we need to like recreate a pathway, very simply and not quite accurately speaking, but then that can be a relatively, it's not a fast necessarily learning, but it can be relatively fast. We just need to do it many times and allow ourselves to kind of not do it right for a couple of times, especially if we're working on coordinations, especially if we're working on sophisticated, complex coordinations like singing. That takes a while to get those coordinations where we want them to be. And if we're also at the same time, like, for example, if we're teaching and we're working to perhaps change language, perhaps change our diagnostic skills, we're working to change our feedback, how we give feedback, like we're working to change some of those things. we have some of those things already so far ingrained, like the pathway, if you will, is so deep in our brain that what we're actually working to do is not only like loosen the pathway, but we're building a pathway at the same time as we're trying not to go on the old one. So we're trying to like lessen that the old path and like still try to make the new path even and go on the new path even before it's really ready. So that's again, that's not quite accurate, but it's accurate enough.
It's not.
So,
It's not wrong.
It's not wrong.
It's
not
yeah.
wrong.
I mean, that's neuroplasticity.
Yes,
Basically.
and that's where all of that messiness comes in, where we're not necessarily going to do it right, and we're not necessarily going to have those immediate results. And if we don't understand that, and we see the masterclass teacher like being amazing, and we're sitting in the audience as teachers, for example, and we think, God, that masterclass teacher is phenomenal. Like, how can they do that so fast? They're so good. And then like you see them teaching, look, masterclasses are a lot closer to performances than they are to teaching, in my opinion. We're masterclasses like way over here close to performing because I'm not actually doing like that deep learning that I would do with teaching, right? So not necessarily working on that deep learning, right? What I'm basically working on is way up here in the like short-term memory land and consolidating with whatever you've got, like sort of throwing in a short-term memory thing, or sorry, throwing something in that is going to go into your short-term memory. And again, unless you consolidate it, unless you work on it, practice it, it's not. So then coming back to our classes, then we get into this like, if we're not clear as instructors where we're saying things like, hey, this could take a while to work out, and here are the steps to really work on this in your, when you get back to this voice studio. Or I think you're going to start to include, hopefully I'm not telling secrets here, but you're going to start to include like more like actually like practical, do it right now kind of stuff. Yeah, right? So that helps us as well to like get those new pathways started and to get yourself onto that pathway and start to get into the enjoyment of the messy learning, if you will, like kind of just like go, okay, this is kind of fun and creative and let's see where this takes us, and gets us out of the, I should be able to do it as amazingly as Meredith does it, like every single time, right?
Right. Well, and also I'm going to put a pin in one of the things that you said, because I think it's super important. You touched really briefly on the notion of being able to just accept that it's going to be messy and it's not going to be right or wrong. But we are all so conditioned to look for the right thing, and if we don't do it right the first time, then we go, oh, I didn't get it because I didn't do it right the first time, right?
Yeah, totally.
But we're sort of taught how to think that way from the very beginning, and so it's a really hard paradigm to break out of, I think.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, like, and so we were talking about this a little bit too, in terms of, I think this is something that Michelle brought up. We were in our business group. Full disclosure, Meredith and I are in a business group together with Michelle Markwick DeVoe. But anyway, so I think this is something that Michelle brought up as well, is the fact that it's not just academia that has this kind of top-down model. Right? It's our entire Western education system. Like, it's our entire theory of education that has this very top-down model where the instructor does the thing and shows you how to do the thing, and now you're going to be graded on the thing. So that then leads us, again, it leads us to being cautious about trying things and and being afraid of doing it wrong, and being afraid of having not being as good as so and so is at it, so and then it removes all of the play and all of the creativity and all of the all of the options and all of the fun. It takes all of that out of it because you're going to do it right.
It does. It takes it out like like a magic wand.
Yeah.
Like, because learning, I mean, the way animals learn and the way we used to learn before all of this is you play and you make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's how you make your discoveries. And
Yeah.
really, so when people, and there's lots of studies about it, that when you incorporate
Tons.
play and take away those imperatives, that the learning is much more effective.
Yeah.
Okay, wait,
Absolutely.
since I already interrupted you, let me, so if you're just joining us, no, that's not it. There it is. Shannon. Put Shannon in the chat, or look, if you're watching on YouTube, look in the comments below if you want the link to Shannon's information page, because we're talking today about her class, Vocal Instrument 101, which was not in small part born of the same thinking that we're talking about today. So I would like to ask you about that too, Shannon. Okay, is that can we? Are you ready? We can talk. Yeah. Will you talk?
Yeah.
Wait, was there anything else I wanted to show on there? No. Okay, Shannon. So talk to me about that, about the Vocal Instrument 101 and the the learning, how you work the learning in that.
Yes. So part of what happens in the Vocal Instrument 101, which is both has an online iteration, evergreen iteration that is, self-study, if you will, and has the live iteration, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. Sorry, I'm just hearing my voice now too, and it's just kicking out on me. I'm post-COVID, which is why my voice is just a little wonky. Anyway, all good.
Still sounds good to me, doll.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. I'm employing all of my skills.
Yes, you talk like the voice teacher. Why don't you?
Um, so part of what happens when I created the Vocal Instrument 101, that was because I wanted to have something out there that I had been teaching undergraduate voice ped classes for a while. And so I had this curriculum already kind of built. And I had the curriculum that was going, that where I explained these relatively complex concepts around what's happening physiologically in the instrument in a way that I thought was, I thought it was good because it was made for undergrads, right? And so the undergrads were doing it, and then there's also a teaching project with the undergrad class. So they were also had that practical application. And so I wanted to just make that course into something for independent voice teachers that has that good information, but that isn't like insanely complex. And that also then gives practical application from the information. So because I've always been an independent voice teacher. So this is not an academic teacher teaching you how to teach. I mean, I am an academic teacher, but only because I teach this one course. So it's not an academic teacher teaching you how to teach academic students, right? I'm not, this information is not about how to create Western classical singers out of like 18 to 24-year-old adults, right? Like that's not what this information is for. This information is how to apply this information to like 6-year-olds, and also then to like choral singers, and then to microphone singers, and then to like music theater singers. Like this is who is in your independent studio, who are those folks? This is who this information is going to apply to. And so something that I do say in the course and that I absolutely emphasize in the Vocal Instrument 101 Live is there's a ton of information going to be coming at you. And this is all, I'm going to make it as entertaining as possible, but you want to take this information with you and start to and literally take notes on the things you want to apply immediately. So all of the things, and I have in my workbook, there are a bunch of sort of like, what are you taking from this part? And what are you taking from this part? And what did you think about, like, what did you think before about these things? And now what do you think now about these things? So that I'm hopefully cueing and bringing that attention to, these are all the things you want to apply immediately. And then I started to do practicums, like at the beginning of the excuse me, of the, what's it called, pandemic. So I started to do like 4 week, 3 week, and 2 week practicums, which I've done for 2 years now, where, because of this very thing, where I was like, okay, having the information is great.
Yeah.
Doing it
Let's do
is
it.
the only way we're really going to learn it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's do it in a mentored situation where, you know, I'm here and your colleagues are here and we're all working together, and you know, like you're asking questions and then you're doing it, so that we're all like mentoring each other essentially, so that then you're coming away with not just the information, but you're coming away with the ability to implement it. Which is what, like what we were talking about earlier too, right? That's part of the reason I think you're going to start to add more of that, like immediate application as well, and discussion around the immediate application as well.
Yeah.
And then that's part of the reason that I'm doing the VoicePed Undegree as well. There's everything in the VoicePed Undegree, which is like something I'm developing for September, but everything in that is is, here's the information, now let's process it together, and now let's apply. So like every week is like information lab, information discussion lab, information discussion lab, information discussion lab.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, because otherwise, as we
Right.
know,
Yeah.
this
Letting them do
information
it.
it doesn't come down into your consolidated, it doesn't become consolidated and usable and automatic, which
Right.
is kind of a fraught word, but automatic. um,
Yes, it is.
yeah, so, but it doesn't become
But it's the point taken as in the one-on-one voice teacher situation. We do have to be, we're always pivoting, right? We have to be very intuitive. We have to be trying to read our student as best we can, and so we do really have to have this automatic library available to us to serve the person who's standing there in front of us.
yeah. Yeah, I think we have to have a base of information, right? We have to have the tools of information, their toolbox, if you will, that we can just kind of reach into really easily. And that's challenging for beginning teachers, of course. It can be really challenging. And again, that's part of the reason I love working with undergrads, is because I'm seeing that challenge all the time and working to help figure out ways to, like, what if you're brand new to teaching and you have no skills, like you have no tools, or the only tools you have are the ones that your teacher used with you on your specific voice for Western classical singing.
Which is you just described a lot of voice teachers.
Yeah, yeah, which is fair. I mean, we don't have. I mean, this is part of the reason you do what you do and I do what I do, right? And I see Claudia on here too. Part of the reason Claudia does what she does too, where we see that we don't have like, it's not like our classroom educator colleagues, right? Where our classroom educator colleagues go through these like curriculum, right? They learn about theories of learning. They learn about how to assess. They learn about, universal learning. Like they learn about all of those things. And then they go into a classroom and they do mentored teaching. Well, at least in Canada they do. I shouldn't speak for everywhere else. In Canada, they go and do mentored teaching.
They do, and they do it in a situation wherein the students have to do what they're told in order to get a grade, in order to pass the class, which is
Yes.
radically different from our reality as independent voice teachers.
Exactly. Well, oh yeah, I'm not saying that we should have a system that is similar to what I'm saying, that what we miss in as independent voice teachers is we miss that kind of structured learning system where we learn how to teach.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like our tools aren't there. All of our tools are like whatever we happen to pick up from, whoever we were taught by, right?
Generally.
Yeah.
So Wendy Martelli has a question. She is asking, I know, Wendy's so awesome. She's
Yeah. Hi,
asking if
Wendy.
a student can learn Western classical singing and popular styles. And she, in the next comment, she said simultaneously, question mark.
Yeah. I absolutely think they can. I think there's absolutely no reason that folks cannot learn the two styles simultaneously. I think the big kicker is that often as independent voice teachers, we teach contemporary styles or popular styles exactly the same way as we learned how to sing Western classical styles. And it's not a good fit. Western classical singing, the way we teach Western classical singing, first of all, I think needs an overhaul anyway, but
That's another discussion.
that's a whole other thing.
That's
But
your book.
yeah, maybe that's a book. So there's that, but then we not only is it not perhaps always the greatest way to teach Western classical styles, it's really not a great way to teach popular styles. So I think, yes, I think it absolutely can, but the teacher has to be really cognizant about what's what. And yeah.
Yeah, and also the student really has to want it. I
Yes,
mean, that's, Jessica Baldwin and I were talking about the nuances of cross training and how people just will say, cross training is inherently good, but it's inherently good for the student who wants/needs that. But
I
if
agree.
you have somebody who just dreams of being in a Fleetwood Mac cover band, and
Why
then
are you teaching them
thank you.
how to sing arias? That doesn't.
Well, and the answer would be because I, the voice teacher, feel that that is intrinsically valuable. And it's okay, go, Shannon. There's the
And that's an
microphone.
issue, right? That's an issue. That is an issue because you're. Um, we may be off the topic of learning now, but anyway, no, not really, not
Not
really,
really.
right? Yeah, not really, because we know that in order to learn well, we need we need to have the desire, and we need to have and desire then leads to attention, which then leads us to the learning. So, right? Yeah. So the desire, if the student does not desire to learn, like they don't desire to create those tonal outcomes, why? Like there's no point. There's no point. I think, and so then they're not going to learn them well anyway. They don't want to. Nothing is even. You could be the best Western classical teacher on the planet. The student is not going to learn it well if they don't want to. Desire motivates learning.
And
So,
so why would I, as as a as a classically trained voice teacher who's really good at both singing and teaching that, and I do have people coming to me because I say I'm a voice teacher and they don't really know the difference between classical and pop. My client doesn't. So where's and Colin Johnson just said, talk about motivation, because that was my question. Great minds think alike, Colin. Where's my motivation? Like, how am I motivated to do the crazy, messy learning? Coming back to the messy learning thing.
yeah. And Claudia is saying we aren't there to tell our students what they should enjoy doing. I agree. And I saw, Claudia, that you had a blog post today about enjoying practicing, which I haven't read yet, and I'm very excited to. Anyway,
What's her
that
blog
might be
post
something
about?
to put in the comments as
Yeah.
well. Yeah. So, oh gosh, I just got thrown off by how awesome Claudia is, and
Motivate. So if I am confident about my ability to teach Western classical, and I do keep having people come through my door, and I'm teaching them something that I know they don't have a desire to learn, but I'm teaching them anyway. Where's my motivation to
right.
do the messy learning? Because messy learning is
Yes.
uncomfortable.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And then because there's also this kind of inherent, especially when we're teaching Western classical, there is this inherent that I think needs to change. There is an inherent right or wrongness because of how specific the tonal outcomes are. So then how specific the coordination has to be in order to create those tonal outcomes. There is an inherent kind of right or wrong around that. We don't have a lot of wiggle room in terms of what our tonal outcomes can be in Western classical singing, right? So because of that, then not only do we have like first of all, the wiggle room around messy learning is like this much compared to like all of the other things. And then I because I feel like I can only do it right or wrong, I'm really not motivated. Like I'm really not motivated then, right? Because we lose the play so fast. So yeah, and also that speaks to us as voice teachers, right? So here's something that I do want to be clear about. I think if we are independent voice teachers who are teaching a sort of traditional roster of voice students, in the suburbs, and like you're the local voice teacher and everybody comes to you, which I have been, meaning that we have folks who are coming to us who don't necessarily know what they want. Right? Yeah. If you're someone who specializes in rock pop, or you're someone who specializes in music theater, you specialize in blah, 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 like folks are going to come to you because they want what you're teaching, and that's a whole other thing. But if you are a general, the GP of independent voice teachers, you're a general practitioner, I think we do have a responsibility to introduce our students to repertoire and styles that they would not normally come across in their sort of everyday lives. We have a responsibility to open the door, but that's a whole other thing than imposing classical style on you or technique on you because I think it's good for you. That's a whole, like those are two different things, right? Where I am either imposing it because it's good for you to learn this, or I am imposing cross-training because it's good for you, versus here are some other styles and some other things in this world of singing, and some other amazing things that your voice can do. Let's explore them. Let's find what you love, right? Those are two completely separate things. So that's where I know like we do get a little bit we get a little bit, again, especially if we've been trained in Western classical styles, we get a little bit like, well, now I'm teaching, I have a responsibility to teach and make sure that the singer knows how to sing an aria, or make sure that, they are exposed to like Benjamin Britten, I don't know, whatever. Like to make sure that they know who Mozart is, I don't know.
Because that's where we come from.
Yes, and we don't really, we have a responsibility to open doors and to show possibility and to get folks excited about what their voice can do. That's what we have a responsibility to do. We don't have a responsibility to impose stuff.
Right. Yeah. And that's hard. That takes a certain amount of self-awareness that very few people have, frankly.
Yeah, well, I think
not to be critical, but blind spots are real. If you can't see it, right?
I think some of those are changing, right? Like I think some of those. Oh gosh, can you hear music in the background?
No.
Okay, good. I won't tell them to turn it down then. It's a holiday here. It's Easter Monday here, so my kids are off. So like, they're watching Lost.
Oh, God save the Queen. You guys get that Easter Monday off. We're not even allowed to say Easter.
Oh gosh. Well, all the schools and governments have Easter Monday off, yeah.
Because you used to be a pink bit. You were one of the pink bits.
We were, yes.
Well, you still are one of the pink bits, aren't you?
We're Commonwealth, 100%.
Yeah. So there you go.
So God save the Queen.
God save the Queen. Right on. Get a day off. Okay, sorry. Carry on.
Gosh.
Now that I've completely derailed you.
Well, super.
So wait, so Shannon, okay, let's just I think we should wrap it up. Let's just quick ask anybody who is here live, if you have any questions that you have not put in the chat, please do so now, so that Shannon can address those. And Shannon, can you just do sort of a quick, once again, talk to me about the vocal instrument? What do you want people to know about that, the live version? Because that's what's exciting, right? Is that I mean, your evergreen version, I'm sure it's great content. I have no doubt that it's great content. But the live version is a horse of a different color.
Yeah, it is. And part of the reason that I created the live version is because I don't do online self-directed courses. Speaking of motivation, like I just don't love them personally, and I don't do them. So what I love about the live version is it gives me a chance to interact with the folks. You can do like live, yeah. And Wendy, I think you did it right. And it gives folks live, and it gives me the chance. It gives you the chance to like ask questions live, and we get that so much easier interaction. Now, it is a ton of information. Like, I will just say that it is a fire hose of information. And so, like it can be a lot, and it is, but it kind of is what it is. And again, that's part of the reason that I'm doing the degree as well, is because I want to parse out that information in just a slightly different learning way, right? But and again, that's the way I love to learn, in like live. Give me all the information. I know how to go out and take that information and apply, because that's the kind of person that I am. I'm a like instant application kind of person. I'm very adaptable. So I love that. That's my preferred learning. So that's part of the reason that the live is there. And this is probably the last time, in fact, I can say this is the last time I will do this one in 2022. Mm-hmm. So just FYI.
Yeah.
Payment plans are there, and also parity, what's it called? Parity purchasing power pricing. So many P's. But that just, if you live in a country where you have low purchasing power, let me know, and I will make the pricing for you at what it would be equal to if you had high purchasing power. Yes.
Yeah, I do that too. That too. Because you got it.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're in a country where it's not about currency, right? It's not about currency or exchange. It's about like how much things actually cost.
How much
right?
things cost, yeah.
So like if a Coke costs you a day's wages, then you have low parity purchasing, right? That's low.
You do. And you shouldn't drink Coke, because that's way too expensive.
Yes. Exactly.
And 10% off if you get on our mailing list.
So that's not actually applicable to this particular course.
It isn't? Oh, Shannon, you are a tease.
I know, I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
You are the worst. Okay, so everything except that.
I know.
But it would apply to your degree.
Actually, I haven't decided yet. That applies to the Vocal Instrument 101 online course.
Online, okay,
so
okay.
The online course, it applies to that.
Okay.
And it applies to all of my like pop-up classes. I'm going to be doing a few more pop-up classes this year as well. So all of those classes and all that stuff is, that's what it is.
All the fun stuff. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today, Shannon. And thank you, people who were here with us today and throwing in your comments. We always appreciate that. It makes us feel not so alone. So thanks for talking about messy learning and clarifying and just hanging out and having fun. And you're getting a lot of hearts, a lot of love for Dr. C. So everybody have a great week, and I will see you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.